The perfect time. There it is. Hey, good morning, everybody. You know what time it is. The Ring of Hire Show. What a way to start off the morning, though, Johnny Cash. Bound by wild desire. Come on, KG, sing it. To a ring of fire. You got it.
Wait a minute. Are you Johnny Cash impersonator? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, right. I love singing Johnny Cash. All right. Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Thursday. And like I said before, we have our new co-host on Thursdays, Miss KG of Trap Recruiter.
Yeah, KG.
Sharp, Richard Rosner. And the guest today, when I'm going to turn it over to KG, is Chris Russell of Rec Tech Media. I hope I got that right. There he is.
Chris.
Morning. So, KG, take it on out.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you guys as always. Welcome to the show, Chris. Just want to give you a second to introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, and for me, and I know Rich, we want some more insight into why the moniker Mad Scientist.
All right. Well, appreciate the info and great show name, by the way, guys. Ring of Hire. Definitely clever there. Like it. So yeah, I've been in the recruiting space for about 20 years, and today I run a company called Rec Tech Media, where my job is basically to inform the modern recruiter, and I do that through a variety of publications, podcasts, webinars, blogging, news. I run a bunch of recruiting news websites and sites like recruitingheadlines.com, HR Podcasters, hrtechfeed.com that cover the space. And beyond that, I do a lot of consulting for both vendors in the space and also employers. So, for example, I just helped a staffing firm learn how to do virtual job fairs using some webcast technology. Yesterday, I helped launch job boards for people and do a lot of just kind of HR technology consulting overall. So that's where my background lies. I used to be a corporate recruiter as well. And but I got my start doing my own job boards here in Connecticut, where I live, back in 1999, and just kind of started launching a bunch of stuff. I'm kind of known for launching different technologies and tools out there. And my friend Joe Stubblebine, who's in the job board space, said, "You know what, Chris? You're like a mad scientist. You're always like experimenting," and that's where the nickname came from. So I just kind of took that and made that part of my personal brand. So it's where we are today.
The Mad Scientist.
I want to jump back into the virtual job fair that you helped out with yesterday. I was a in-house recruiter for a long time, and job fairs were like a hazing tool. Like no one wanted to do job fairs. We really didn't take them seriously. And then, I've seen them evolve. I'm not a huge certain things, if you guys have been following me, that there are certain job fairs that I've either been a part of, that I've helped, I do on-site logistics and things like that so that they move, but they're more hiring events. Yeah. And then, I've done the virtual job fairs, even when we were able to gather together, and I just like, they sometimes got hectic, and it was like, if you're not a good typist, you're kind of going to get left behind because, you're moving from here to there. You don't really have a lot of time to spend with folks. And now as we've moved into, a pandemic where, the virtual job fair is a necessity, how has the technology improved so that both the job seeker and the recruiter or the hiring manager, whoever is, on the other side of the screen, so that their experience is just, is better. And, there's not a lot of, not this again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of ways to do sort of a virtual job fair today, one of which there's some DIY solutions, as I call them,
okay.
A Zoom or a Facebook Live. In this case, we use Crowdcast, which is sort of a social network video platform. Then you've got dedicated tools like Brazen out there, vFair is another one. Overall, those are kind of more in depth versus the DIY solutions, where they're kind of just simpler and things like that. So we just did a simple one. I just kind of wanted to get them familiar with the technology first of all, and make sure there's no audio and mic issues. We did have some like reverb going on, so that was an issue we have to work out. But so things like using headsets was probably the better way to go about it in terms of that stuff. But yeah, it's and it was a pretty simple fair in itself. It was just kind of the recruiters talking about the jobs they had. And if you're interested, you just leave a comment or leave your email address and things like that in the chat. So we kept it really simple to begin with. I didn't want to overwhelm them with technology issues and things like that. So I find that a lot of, HR people, staffing firms, recruiters, they're not tech people. So you have to really sort of lay it out for them, simplify it as much as possible, and, take it slow and start simple and go from there.
Thanks for that. And like I said, there's always, when you're coming in with that, and I'm speaking from a recruiter standpoint, when you're coming in with that attitude that I don't want to be here, like that shows, the way, like your posture at the booth, you're like, and you're thinking that, and, the recruiters are sitting around talking to each other. The few hiring managers that we, convinced to come in, they're like, what time is my interview? And, they're ready to get in and get out. There's just like a mad rush for people that are coming to, grab some candy, or there's, one booth with a line all the way down the street. So like, I think we didn't do a good job with like optics and making things like meaningful and interactive. And we a lot of times treated them like cattle calls. But I think we did it, like I said, while I've had this time in the pandemic to like pull myself back and look at my not so obvious discriminatory thoughts and practices and my biases and my misgivings and my elitism and, some classist things that I do, and ableist. Yeah. Listen, equality is greater than division. Okay. Like, let's just keep it real. So, I think about that. It's like, a lot of that was on us and we put it on job seekers. Like, how are we mad that people who are unemployed or who are looking to get out of a, or looking to elevate their careers or get out of a bad career, why are we mad that they're coming to us for a job? Isn't that why we're here? And I think that, hopefully with the playing field being leveled, with a lot of folks having to learn new things, with a lot of people having to make adjustments, there's not so much of a like, the recruiter is up here and the job seeker is down here. It's really like, and sometimes it's more like this because the job seekers a lot of times are more knowledgeable and more gracious and more amenable than the actual recruiter is.
Yeah. Now you've had like, a lot of TE people being laid off, recruiters laid off. And so I hope that they get a little more empathy out of that fact that now they're job hunting as well. And they're on the other side of things. So
Chris, I had a question for you, Chris. I was around this area. They've had some of the virtual job fairs and a lot of the responses, nobody goes to them, nobody shows up on them. When you say the virtual job fairs, have you seen them be successful by online? It's just something, does it screen by? Do you have to sign on, or what have you noticed?
You got to promote it, right? And you got to give enough time to promote it as well. So if you want, the longer the more lead time you have in terms of promotion for a virtual job fair, the more people are going to come overall. Don't do it, a week before and expect to get a bunch of people. That's not going to happen. You got to kind of keep constantly promoting it, reiterating it, and pushing it out there as much as you can. Overall, people need repetition as far as remembering to come goes overall. And you got to plan it too. You got to have an agenda and be ready to go. So those are some of my tips there.
Okay.
Rich?
Yeah, I think one thing is, and I want to elaborate on what Chris said, is we have to capture the audience. And it has to be colorful, like instead of career job fairs, I call them job parties. You want to capture the audience because there has to be some interest or they're just going to walk by and not even sign up. Am I right, Chris? I mean,
back when in 2008, when I ran my job boards, I started doing some job fairs, but instead of calling them job fairs, I called them pink slip parties.
Nice.
And we had them at bars. And,
nice.
Big bars.
Sorry.
I was like, wow, say that again.
Oh, when's the next one?
Back when we could have
like this.
parties at bars, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed those, helping people find work and doing it in kind of a fun way, right? I kind of limited the amount of employers there. They had their own little table, and it was a lot of fun doing those.
Awesome.
Yeah, we called those open houses.
Yep.
When we had them in front of a bar. Yes.
I love
genius.
those.
Can we go back in time?
Well, allegedly, but I was not invited to the Back to the Future car, so I don't know.
Wow.
So other than the virtual job fairs, what other things are you seeing recruiters pivot or hiring teams? How are they pivoting and making adjustments for meeting their needs during this wonderful pandemic?
I'd say, recruiting automation is sort of the soup du jour of the day. People are talking about ways to automate parts of the hiring process, recruiting process. Amazon actually has done this pretty well as far as hiring for their warehouses. It's basically a completely machine-based experience. You basically you apply, you get pre-screened online, and you show up. And that's where I think a lot of hiring is headed, particularly in the high volume spaces overall. So you're going to see kind of that creeping into the rest of the industries and roles overall over time. Things like chatbots, texting, just that candidate experience is becoming much more of a streamlined process, and you really have to these days to find the hires you want. I saw a tweet on Twitter yesterday, and the applicant, it was a recruiter applying for a job. She was saying that they made me fill in my high school graduation date as part of the process. I'm like, what are we doing, people?
Like, I don't know, sometime in June.
Yeah, you've got to simplify the apply process. I mean, it doesn't, particularly for like entry level roles, blue collar stuff. All you need basically is name, phone number, email address, past job title, and a few other details to get started. You shouldn't have to require them to go beyond that. Get their contact information first, then you can ask them more information about who they are and what they do. It's all about capturing them, and that's why the online conversion rates for jobs are poor. They're like 10-20% in most employers, because they fail to really capture that seeker and convert them properly, particularly on mobile too, right? If a lot of people don't have computers. So how would they apply to a job? They have to do it on their phone. And if it's not mobile friendly, then forget it. They're not going to apply. So you really need to take a look at your apply process, particularly now when you have more time, maybe as a TA organization, and find better technology to streamline that process. So it's really important.
Good stuff.
That was awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
My turn?
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
I was waiting for KG to say David.
Oh,
Silence.
David.
Thank you. See, you're the host. Thank you. Chris, I was listening to you before when you said about podcasts. To me, podcast is just like what we're doing in a way now, but have you utilized that in the recruiting you were saying?
So great question, actually. So over 10 years ago, I launched a product called Jobs in Pods, and it was designed for employers to basically talk to employers about their jobs and their hiring process. So we interviewed companies like McDonald's, Walgreens, Intel. We said, okay, give us your star employees. Let us interview them for 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll promote that for you online. And had some success there back in like 08, 09 with some of those employers out there. I think Intel actually did probably my most successful client. They did about 20 of them, and they put them on their career site, and they had over 100,000 downloads of these shows. And so I think that anytime you can bring to life your employees and ask them what it's like to work there, it's a good thing, whether it's through video, audio, or a blog. That's kind of the point. Right. So I did that for a number of years. And I think today, even still, it's a great, inside your company. And there's a few companies doing that now. I couldn't name them off the top of my head, but an internal podcast is a great promotional tool for any employer out there. It's, it's essentially free to do. It's cheap to do. And you need a microphone and a podcast host, and you're good to go. It's a great employer branding tool to showcase your employees and why and how they like working there.
Hey, Chris, I could ask you a question. Podcast versus the video like we're doing right now. Which one is better, or is there different avenues you take on each one?
So yeah, there's definitely differences there, and the reason I launched it as an audio version when I did Jobs and Pods was because people consume audio and video differently. They typically watch video on their phone or on YouTube. With audio, it's much more of a passive experience. They might do it taking the dog for a walk, commuting in their car, working out, or just kind of chilling out at home, right? In the background. Sometimes I'll pop in my AirPods and just when I walk my dog who's asleep over there, I listen to podcasts all day basically. So that's how I learn as well. It's part of my mantra is always be learning and always be recruiting. And I listen to a lot of recruiting podcasts myself to keep myself up to date. And that's a great free tip out there for anybody who wants to get better at recruiting. They consume them differently. And so they have different use cases overall. And that's why you need to have, that's a good reason to use audio is because you can do it in your car, on the subway, walking the dog. So
great.
And you don't have to business mullet. You don't have to look nice. You don't have to worry about.
That's the other thing too, right? So not everyone wants to appear on camera.
Exactly.
And so if you ask your employee base, a lot of them are going to say, no, I'm not going to be on camera.
You're a natural.
Oh, come on.
A natural what?
Yeah. And you can do both too, right? You can take a video and you can export the audio. And
there you go.
Make a podcast out of that too. So I do that sometimes with some of my shows. Yep.
All right. So I think we have about 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris, what do you want to share? What's coming up for you? What advice do you have for recruiters out here that are maybe a little concerned about, how the recruiting industry is shaping up and maybe not answering the questions wrong? What's your advice to them?
I'd say you have to stay the course here. You got to be engaged in the recruiting industry if you want to, grow your network. Be wanted overall by a company. I think you have to really continually improve your skill set as a recruiter.
Yes.
I've always felt that the technology is changing the way recruiting is happening. And if you're not keeping up with technology as far as how it pertains to recruiting, then you're going to get left behind overall. So my advice is, do demos, tech demos, learn as much as you can, and just stay on top of the industry overall. That will make you a better recruiter in the long run. So that's kind of my tip out there for people. As far as what's coming up, I've got a big conference coming up with you as a host, Keirsten. So we're doing the Diversity Technology Expo on September 23rd at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can go to diversitytechexpo.com to sign up. And that's a show where we're going to basically highlight 45 different technology vendors who will help you make your workforce more diverse.
Yeah.
So, it was companies like Seekout, diversityjobs.com, Tal Vista, and This Way Global will be our main sponsors. And then you're going to get a take-home ebook with all the rest of the other technologies out there. And Keirsten and I are going to run through those in a 2-hour event.
Excuse me.
And, show you what's out there. I think a lot of people don't know what is out there as far as diversity hiring goes. And there's definitely some great tools and sites and communities out there targeting women, LGBT. There's a site called Black Tech Jobs, for example, I just found out about. So a lot of great tools and sites and communities out there to help you become more diverse. And you'll learn about those in that show. So looking forward to that.
Good stuff.
Great.
Good.
Anything from my good friend Rich?
You know what, Chris, one more thing, and I always talk about job boards. What do you see the future of job boards with the technology and stuff like that you're seeing right now?
So I think anytime I get a call from a prospective job board entrepreneur who wants to start one, I say, don't think about just creating a job board. Think about creating a community of like-minded people for whatever niche you're going after. So you're seeing a lot of companies now, like, the Mom Project, which, has a job board on there, but they're more than that. They're a community of moms, remote moms looking to do work, and you can actually hire them through the tool itself and pay them through the tool. So you're seeing a new evolution of the job board space into more of a community with all the bells and whistles of essentially a virtual recruiting company and things like that. So that's kind of what to think about is build a community, not just a place to post jobs. You really have to think about your audience and who you're going after.
I like that, and I'm writing that quote down right now.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's awesome. That's a great way to think about job boards now, you know,
Yep.
it's a community.
Yep. Because you can still make money with them. You know, it's depending on the niche you're going after, there's still a viable business out there if you know how to do it right.
Yes. All right, and Dave?
Yes. You didn't say your good friend?
My
Oh boy.
favorite friend and
Haha, Richard. I got a favorite, not a good friend.
Yeah.
So
my favorite friend and host.
here we go. Chris, I just two quick ones. And you hit on it that I'm changing over. And I like how you said the technology. Every time I turn around, there's somebody reaching out to me about something new. And with Duckin now, with Vic and them, the website that I'm going to be changing over to is just going to be, it's just your resume. You're just click and you've applied because all the information is there. Your date, you know, I mean, all your job description of what you've done, where your address, your email, and then you work behind the scenes of reaching out to the candidate. That I like you said, because we get a lot of people that just don't apply because it's too long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they start and then they're like, no thanks.
Contract. Yep.
Right.
That, and I wanted to ask you the job and when you said about video and audio, have you seen the audio work? Let's just say logistic wise, like, you know, you're talking high volume. Could a podcast work in that way with the companies? I believe, like you said, about talking about your company on a podcast, maybe those type of job seekers are going to listen to that. I
think if it's authentic, they'll listen. Right. One of the problems I had with jobs and pods was companies scripting the answers too much. And you can't do that. You got to make it real for the listener. So don't script the answers. Just give them a couple of bullet points they can hit on, but let them speak naturally and freely, and that will show in the audio and be more believable to the audience.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that, because that's what I was trying to figure out, how you could do that and engage. Yeah, that high volume versus, singular jobs or anything like that. But that high volume, I was thinking, how do you reach that? Like a radio station does, in a way, Yep. So, all right. Thank you.
All right. So we're at 22, 39, 40, 41. We have to wrap. Good morning, Amy.
Amy, good morning.
And we have
good morning, Stephen, Chris. We've got folks popping back up. That's great. So I do think this is a great show. I love that, I adjusted my attitude because I was kind of cranky this morning. Coffee got fully in, and, Chris is so mellow and calm and just, you can tell he's been a long time. If you look at my left, the left of the screen and the right of the screen, like me and Rich are like always amped up and acting a little bit different. Oh, you switched it. You see how these guys
it's a new. I don't like that.
It's like Hollywood Squares, right?
Yeah, around. But I was trying to give you a compliment, Johnny, and here you go.
Johnny. Here we go. Wait, there you go.
You're like the balance. You're like balancing out. Our energy. We'll call it. Me and Rich are very energetic, and we're kind of like the great salad dressing, oil and vinegar. We're a great salad dressing. Together, we are tasty. But you got that was bad. They're gonna throw me out. They're gonna throw me out.
Oh boy.
Chris and Dave are like really calm and like they got their whole professional background. Me and Rich are in the.
We're just like, hey, here we are. Get to leave it.
I love that mix,
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have that mix.
I'm all for a mix. I'm all for diversity. We started out with, like I said, like the good Johnny Cash song came in here. My best favorite host, Dave, has got on his Johnny Cash outfit. I mean, you can't beat it.
The man in black.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Every day.
I
Every
appreciate
day.
it.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're talking about. We never know what we're talking about.
Never. I'm going to work on my suntan. As you can see right now, the sun's getting ready to hit me hard.
And that's what makes it good. Yeah, that we just come here and give you what you need.
Enjoy life.
That's
Appreciate
awesome.
being on, guys. Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate you.
I want to
Yes,
come back.
all right. On that note, we are going to end it now. Here we go.